now is really a misunderstood time of the year. When Elul begins, we blow the shofar every morning. When hearing the sounds of the shofar, some people might ask, so what? Or might even think, thanks for the reminder to lose a few pounds in preparation for a brisket. However, the answer to so what is that this is our call to action. We have to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. Why would one want to prepare for Rosh Hashanah? The answer is simple. Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment when a Kadosh Baruch Hu decides life or death, sickness or health, poverty or wealth. Does it make sense to prepare for a day of judgment? You bet. Let's talk about hurricanes, for example. Usually, the Weather Bureau gives a week's heads up. You know that in 7 days, a hurricane may hit. You generally know for sure whether it will hit land. You just don't know whether for sure it will hit you until perhaps the day or even a few hours before landfall. What happens during that week? The hardware store sells out of all its plywood and batteries. The grocery store's shelves are cleared out or seriously diminished of canned goods and water. People are scrambling to buy generators to provide electricity needed to keep the lights on, fans going, and the refrigerator and freezer working. There's a mad dash for last-minute preparations because the storm is coming. What's the difference between a hurricane and Rosh Hashanah? The hurricane may hit your area. Rosh Hashanah definitely will touch you. So if one believes in a God who has a set standard for behavior and observance in the Torah, and who will judge us, does it not make sense to make some preparations? It would be reasonable to think so. If you know for sure that you have a set trial date, and the evidence is stacked against you, you'd prepare as much as you can. In about a month and a half, we will read the story of Brit Ben Habtarim in Parshas Lech Lecha, where after God tells Avraham to sacrifice some animals, he then reveals to Avraham the future. Yada teda ki ger yeh zarecha be'eretz lo lahem ve'avdum ve'inu osam arba me'os shana. God tells Avraham that Avraham and his offspring will be strangers in a land not theirs, and will be enslaved and afflicted. But in the end, they will inherit the land of Israel. This prophecy truly raises a difficult question. If God knows the future, how do we have free choice? Don't the Israelites have a choice to go down to Egypt or not? Don't the Egyptians have a choice to enslave Bnei Israel? If God knows what we are going to do ahead of time, is God determining what we do? Or do we really have freedom of choice? Traditional Jewish commentators have answers to these highly philosophical questions. The Ramban, medieval scholar Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, in his commentary on Sefer Shmos, said, Hashem made a decree that the Israelites will go down to Egypt and be enslaved, but the Egyptians did increasingly terrible things to the Israelites. For example, Hashem didn't tell the Egyptians to throw infants into the sea. The Egyptians did more than what they were supposed to do. The Egyptians acted out of their own free will. In his commentary, the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, also known as Maimonides, said, Hashem decreed that the Egyptians as a nation would enslave the Israelites, but every Egyptian could decide on his or her own to do that or not. Each individual Egyptian had the freedom to decide if they wanted to give into the peer pressure of those around them. The issue of free will, the tension between God's knowledge and human beings' freedom, comes up in a prayer called Unasana Tokev that we say in the Musaf Amida on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. On the one hand, the Machzor says, Mi ichye u'mi yamuz. It is determined who is going to live or die in the year ahead. On the other hand, the same prayer says, Useshuva, usfila, utstaka, ma'avirin esra hagzera, that we can affect that decision by doing good things like tshuva, tefillah, and staka. The ArtScroll Machzor translates the last part of this prayer as tshuva, tefillah, and staka can annul the evil of the decree. However, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, former chief rabbi of England, in a video about this prayer, translates the final sentence as tshuva, tefillah, and staka can annul the evil decree. Although a seemingly insignificant difference of wording, this is truly a major change of translation. To illustrate the difference, think of a person with an illness. According to Rabbi Sachs, doing tshuva, tefillah, and staka will make the illness simply go away. According to the ArtScroll Machzor, a person with the same illness, by doing tshuva, tefillah, and staka, will give the person the necessary medicine. The truth is, both the ArtScroll Machzor and Rabbi Sachs are correct. Generally, by doing tshuva, tefillah, and giving tzedakah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will judge us with mercy and annul the evil decree. But as we also know, bad things happen to good people. When faced with a tough situation, tshuva, tefillah, and tzedakah are all we need to make the most of what we are given. On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it is true that the Machzor talks about the fact that God has a plan. Some things are out of our control. But the Machzor also talks about us taking responsibility for our choices and actions. These are within our control. On the high holidays, Hashem judges us not for the things that are out of our control, which He decides, but for the things that are in our control. Parshas Re'eh, which we read almost a month ago on Rosh Chodesh, is a jam-packed portion. It begins with a choice. Hashem says to us, I set before you a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of God. The curse, if you do not, and you follow other gods. The Torah uses some mighty strong language in this parsha that really needs some understanding. On top of this, the Sforno, a renowned 15th century commentator, adds, there is no middle way. If a person follows the Torah, his life will be a blessed life. If a person fails to live by the commandments, he will live a cursed life. This seems to be a rather extreme statement. If we understand that life is purposeful and meaningful, then we can understand that a life of meaning is a blessed life. If we believe that we are some massive accident randomly placed on this planet by mistake, life is devoid of satisfaction and imbued with a sense that nothing makes a difference. Understanding that there is a God who created the world, sustains it, and supervises it, gives life intrinsic meaning. One can always create a sense of meaning in a diversion, acquiring wealth, following baseball, or even something as noble as helping others. However, unless there is a God and there are absolute responsibilities and values, then there is no inherent meaning to life. It gnaws at one's psyche. A person needs to have purpose in life, to know that life is meaningful. To be aware of the Creator and to fulfill His will enables a person to experience the greatest of blessings in this world. Each day will be an exciting adventure full of the joy of doing the will of Hashem. The choice is yours to make. Choose life. This Rosh Hashanah, may we all have the zchus to, by doing the three things outlined at the end of Unasana Tokef, allow HaKadosh Baruch Hu to move from Kiseh Shel Din L'Kiseh Shel Rachamim, the chair of judgment, to the chair of mercy, and inscribe us B'Sefer Chaim, in the book of life. Shana Tova.